Monday Night Raw's review. Brought to you by me, the Nexus. I'm getting all muddled up. Yeah, so Monday Night Raw. Kind of slipped back into its old ways. That's what I suppose that's what we get. So hi Mike, thanks for joining us. Anyone else jump on? Yeah. So this is the Nexus review of Monday Night Raw. Obviously we kick off Raw with sort of fighting already in the ring. So we kick off with Ravi and King Corbin and Randy Orton. That's it. Hiya. Yeah, so that's who we kick off with on Raw. It's already started, so it's come straight in. They're fighting. I thought that they maybe. I was watching it on obviously on Sky Sports here in the UK, and I thought they'd missed something. They've missed the stuff. What's going on? But it didn't. This is how it started. So they're already fighting in the ring. So apparently Ravi had come down and they had already started fighting. Then we had this weird segment with Bobby Lashley in Ravi's bedroom, and it just seemed weird. And then there was like this sort of porno music going on in the back. It was a weird segment. Then obviously you have Corbin and Randy Orton at ringside, then laughing. Ravi loses it and sort of decimates the both of them, even Randy Orton, and that was, you know, he's a big star as well. Obviously setting up Crown Jewel for the 5-on-5 teams with Flair and Hogan. Then we cut to a commercial break, and then we get a pretty decent match. So we get Natalya versus Lacey Evans in a last man standing match, or a last woman standing match, might I add. Yeah, it was pretty good. It was backwards and forwards. A lot of action out the ring as well. There was kendo sticks. There was trash cans. There was everything. So this match was a pretty decent match. It was actually really good. Obviously, Natalya wins by power bombing Lacey Evans off of the stage through a table. So it was a pretty decent match. It is what it is. I'm hoping now that that's the end of that. We've had Natalya versus Lacey Evans for a few weeks now. We had the last one at Hell in a Cell. I just hope that that's dead and they can move on a little bit from that. So yeah, someone's just messaged me, Mike. Yeah, so love the hat. Yep, this is a hat that I got with one of my builds. That's a good one. Yeah. Then we get a non-title tag team match. So we get the Viking Raiders versus Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. Yeah, so it was a good match. I knew that the Viking Raiders were going to win because it was a non-title match. It's really weird that they seem to put these matches on but don't put the titles on the line. That was weird, and I knew instantly. Even my daughter that watches it with me instantly knew what was going to happen. This obviously, the Viking Raiders win. This sets up a match for next Monday when the draft finishes for the Viking Raiders versus Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode for the Raw Tag Team titles. It's going to be a very, very interesting one. Going forward, it's going to be very interesting. Who am I? I am the Nexus. So yeah, we get that. Then we get a weird segment with Aleister Black. He takes on the Singh brothers in a 2-on-1 handicap match. This is a way of them pushing Aleister Black. He had a very strange entrance where he sort of rose up from like a casket, and I don't really know the character they're building for Aleister Black. He's a good wrestler, but I'm not too sure how they're building him. I don't know whether they're trying to build him as the next Undertaker or not. But yeah, he sort of rose up like a vampire and sort of strolled down the ring. I thought it was pretty good. It was an easy match for them, I think. Going forward, I think that was fairly easy for them. Fairly easy for Aleister Black going on against the Singh brothers, who I must put on that. They're normally on 205 Live, but I think it's the first time they've been on Raw for a long time, a very long time. So it's nice to see him. But obviously, a quick win for Aleister Black. Obviously, they're building him up. It'd be interesting to see where he's drafted to, Raw or SmackDown. I've got a funny feeling he's going to be on Raw, but we'll find out on Friday. Then we get the OC, a triple threat, a triple tag team match. So we get the OC versus the Lucha House. Once again, the Lucha House have mainly been on main event. Haven't really seen them. So it was an easy sort of, well, the Lucha House ain't going to win this because we've got AJ Styles, who is the US champion. And obviously we've got Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. But they've been pushed quite big, and the Lucha House they're established, but not that well, if you know what I mean. So it looked like an easy win. It was an easy win. AJ done it, and then continued to beat up the Lucha House, sort of sending a message to sort of say, this is us, this is whatever. So, yeah, that was a fairly good one. And then we had Miz TV, which had Becky Lynch and Charlotte, the Raw and SmackDown Women's Champions on it. We got some talking, and then we get the I keep calling them the Kibosh. I don't know why. The Kabuki Warriors. No one's corrected me yet, but it's the Kabuki Warriors, and they're obviously playing the heels now, which is really good. Something that's frustrated me is no one seemed to want them to talk Japanese on the show, so they gave them they gave them Paige, so Paige could sort of communicate. And now Paige is gone, so I don't know where Paige has gone. There was no mention; she's just gone again. I like seeing Paige on screen. I think she's a decent wrestler. It's a shame she can't wrestle anymore. But it was a way of her getting some screen time, and she just hasn't been on there. But yeah, they come up on. There was some talking in the ring with the Miz. Then the Kabuki Warriors come out, speak in Japanese. Now my daughter talks Japanese, so she was saying they were actually swearing, which is really clever because unless you talk Japanese, you wouldn't know. But yeah, she said that they were swearing, so that's quite cool. Obviously, they come down to the ring for the women's tag team champions, the Kabuki Warriors, taking on Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. It's a fairly good match. The only problem I've got with this, now there was reports coming out this week that they were going to retire the women's tag team titles. Now, they've only just been introduced 7 or 8 months ago. And they're talking about retiring them already. My daughter, my wife, and the girls in the house, they hate it. And they're like, I kind of see their point because they're trying to push women's wrestling. And they're like, this could be a step back. But they've got a brand split coming up. And I think it would be difficult either way. I don't really know what's going on with that title. But it seemed to be pushing into an angle, this match. And I could see them doing Charlotte, Becky Lynch versus the Kabuki Warriors for the titles. And if Charlotte and Becky win, they could easily retire the tag team titles, the women's tag titles, like that. And obviously, if they lose and the Kabuki Warriors win, they could just take the Raw and SmackDown women's titles and get rid of the women's tag team titles, unify them as it were, and then just get rid. Which is a shame because I think they're quite a nice title. They're different than the other ones, but yeah, frustrating. My daughter would not be happy if they did that because she's very much into him. Anyway, going into the match, it was a good back to forward match. The Kabuki Warriors looked very strong. They're playing the heels, so they're playing the baddies now, which I don't think was the original plan. Green Mist, so it's a sort of a trade thing with Japanese stars. We had it with Tajiri, and I think a wrestler does it in Impact as well, another Japanese wrestler. and they sort of spit out this green mist that covers the face. They used it on. This is how they won the women's tag team titles at Hell in a Cell when they did it to Nikki Cross. This time they do it to Becky Lynch. She gets a face full. 1, 2, 3. The Kabuki Warriors win. That's quite good because they're looking strong now. They've been able to beat Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks and Charlotte Flair. Then music hits. We also, and then after the match, we get a rundown from Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, the former women tag team champions. They do a beat down in the ring, beat the both of them. Overlook. They look very strong. So that was that. Yeah, it was a good match. It was a fairly good match. Then we get a draft. It was showcased as a draft showcased match. I don't really know why. But basically 2 faces, the 2 good guys. So we get Apollo Crews versus Ricochet. Apollo Crews is a bigger guy that uses some of the athleticism of a cruiserweight or a smaller star like Ricochet. It was a fairly good match, backwards and forwards. It was one of those matches where you watch where you kind of think this could go in your way, but then again, Ricochet's been a bit of a high at the moment. WWE high on him at the moment, and obviously Ricochet picks up the win. So yeah, Apollo Crews comes out looking not so good on that match, but it was okay. Then we get, which was billed on SmackDown, was the open mic for Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, to come out and address what happened on SmackDown. Obviously, he comes out, starts talking. Braun Strowman comes out, and then there's just this brawl in the ring, and then they knock out Tyson Fury and Braun Strowman knock out everyone, all the officials, all the refs, all these other officials, just cleans them out, and then they start brawling in the ring. Then you get all the wrestlers down, and they sort of separate them, and it's backwards and forwards loads of times. Then Braun Strowman goes out of the ring backstage, does an interview, and then comes back down and starts fighting again. And that's where it ends, where they're still brawling. It's a good segment. I can see this going into Crown Jewel, which is on Halloween over at Saudi Arabia. So I think this is being billed for Braun Strowman versus Tyson Fury. It's going to be a very interesting match because obviously Tyson Fury is not a wrestler. He is a boxer. And Braun Strowman is a wrestler, not a boxer. So I don't really know. It's the sort of thing that they've done before with Big Show and obviously Mayweather. So it's something that they've delved into before, where they've done a boxing type match with the wrestlers, and the wrestlers come off worse. It'd be interesting to see how they build this going forward. Obviously, like I said, it's gearing up for Crown Jewel, but yeah, Tyson Fury looks okay. It's whether or not he can wrestle. I don't think he will. I think it'll be billed as a boxing match rather than a wrestling match. It'll be interesting to see how this pans out. But it sort of left Raw in a chaos situation, which carried on later on. Obviously offline on social media sites and stuff like that. But yeah, that was Raw. Personally, I think it's a little bit too long. I still think Raw is 3 hours long, and I still think it's too long. I think it should be a 2-hour show like SmackDown. I don't know why it's still 3 hours long. It's been 3 hours long for a couple of years now, but I mean they've had problems filling it, and there was plenty there. But yeah, I still personally think it's too long. I think there's too much time. It should be only 2 hours, but that's just my personal opinion. Maybe you think that it should run the 3 hours. It'll be interesting to see the draft. Obviously, we have the first draft on SmackDown, and I'll be doing a review on that on Saturday at 3 p.m. So make sure you check us out then. but yeah, we'll see how it all pans out. We'll see how it all pans out. That is my review on Raw. The match for me, the best match for me, has to be once again, it was the women. It was Lacey Evans versus Natalia. I think was the better match. The second best one was obviously the Kabuki Warriors as well. But yeah, I think they just don't know. I mean, the Aleister Black match was just a sort of over very quickly. It was sort of to build how strong Aleister Black is. The Apollo Crews one was okay, and Ricochet, but once again, it is what it is. But I think the best men's match on the night on Monday was obviously the Viking Raiders versus Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. I just think that I think they've been pushing the Viking Raiders now. We did get a package as well for AOP. They look like they're going to be imminent, sort of, I would imagine, this Friday or Monday. They're probably going to make their return debut. It'd be interesting to see where they get drafted to. I don't know how the draft's going to work. Obviously, in the past, it's been done all sort of very differently. So it's going to be a very interesting one to see how this one plays out. But yeah, I'm very excited. I'm surprised. My wife said as well she was quite surprised that they've done the draft SmackDown to Raw instead of Raw to SmackDown. Obviously, they've done that because of the Fox deal that they've got with SmackDown at the moment. But we will see. It's going to all be very, very interesting going forward. And I can't wait until Friday. Obviously, it's new to me because obviously tonight, Tuesday, would be SmackDown normally. It hasn't been Friday Night SmackDown for a long time. And it's a bit of a gap. But anyway, there's lots of wrestlings in between. We have Impact. We have AEW. I'm not doing any reviews on them or NXT at the moment. Hopefully, if I get a lot of interest in these podcasts, I will be doing them if there's the need for them. But anyway, thank you for watching. That was my review on Monday Night Raw. Thank you for everyone for listening. Thank you, Mike, as well, who's still in the chat there. Thank you very much for listening, to watching and supporting me. And that was my review. So that's it. Bye-bye.